Good afternoon, YouTubers, and welcome to my video journal blog of an everyday encounter and everyday life of an Aspie. In my last video, we were talking pretty much about the chapter in the Living with the AS series, however, pretty much based on this, like, bear with me, literal and lateral thinking, which I covered some of the importance of the book. Alright, the important bits, however, I would like to address before we continue to the next video of this one is pretty much, right now I covered the definition basically of the literal and lateral thinking. I briefly shared the importance of, however, you and I planning to do something together or as in a group or just one-on-one, pretty much it's important to communicate to me if something arises and let me know in advance, so to speak, about any changes or just in that given heat of the moment when it does arise of a change of plans. I shared also that many times again that I overthink and overanalyze of any given situation that may arise, pretty much, or very briefly and how that can affect me. Another one will be pretty much also, I talked more about me on how I go about my everyday life on everyday things. Also, another one also I covered is the struggles, like ciphering out what is funny and what is not when people tend to, tell jokes to me and pretty much just tell me basically, it was a joke, even though sometimes some people think I killed the joke because, why was it funny in the first place? And I don't get that many people think that they don't need to repeat it to me, so I can get it. But, it'd be good sometimes, even though it may be a joke, just to give me the heads up, maybe to try and illustrate. Sometimes I may be slow to catch on with these jokes, miss the cues that it was a joke in the first place. And to end this overview, however, I have mentioned that again and again in most of my videos, communication and acceptance is important to anyone, regardless being an Aspie or not, pretty much. These are the two important ingredients, however, that will make everyday situations that we can work towards and succeed together or on our own and our everyday things that we do, be it if it's a job, be it if it's like some sort of course that we're doing at the moment and trying to succeed, or be it some sort of goals or dreams or visions that we have set in mind, so to speak. Right, to begin now, however, I would like to address that in this video of the sensory overload, there's two definitions I want to cover from the dictionary.reference.com, which hopefully I'll put some more references down, however, on the bottom of this page, sort of thing, after this video. Anyway, hypersensitivity, however, is defined as 1, excessively sensitive to any circumstance or any allergic reaction, 2, to a substance which persons don't normally, to a person that's normally not reactive to. Hyposensitive, however, is defined as 1, a low or diminished sensitivity to a stimulation, or 2, less than normal sensitivity to a foreign agent, be it an allergen, that in response can be delayed or lessened within a given degree of moment of time. Right, before I begin this video, I just want to come about that this will be split into two parts of the sensory overload. The first one here is basically more about me, about the hypersensitivity to certain senses, of the everyday like, and 2 will be how to manage these hypersensitivities, and hopefully that when you approach an Aspie or when you Aspie yourself, or even maybe normal people yourselves, if you feel the same way as I'm listening right now of the certain, well, how we call it, signs maybe of sensitivity to these senses, pretty much, hopefully these will be effective to you in that second part once we get into it. Anyway, let's begin. As I mentioned before in my last video, pretty much, I do tend to overthink and overanalyze. Yes, to the point where mixed feelings and emotions evolves around me, no matter what it is. Be it, for an example, like as I said in my introductory, I'm a spiritual type person. Sometimes I do feel things before it happens, even though many people that I've come across may think it's a joke and that, and I don't get an acknowledgement saying back from them, I'm sorry, Karen, you were right and all that. Some people just are plain outright rude and just think that they're right all the time. And it's not always about the give and take about who's right or who's wrong in this given moment of time, however. It's about basically, as I said, accepting the right and wrong or the differences between us both, being a neurotypical or an Aspie or the like. As I said, some people may think that I'm labelled as crazy, stupid, and whatnot in this label, regardless how I feel in my oversensitivity or hypersensitivity of this thinking pattern of mine. But whatever the labels that you guys throw at me, I know I can do better than you guys, because I tend to push them aside and just, to the point where I push myself, I do tend to burn out, and yes, sometimes I keep to myself for a given right and reason for it, regardless of trying to recuperate from all the, stress and tension and whatever other, senses that may come about. However, sometimes I also believe that, however, that if you throw these labels at me, I believe I can do anything maybe better or even do more of the given task that's at hand if given that chance. But I guess that sometimes some chances ain't always given. I suppose that sometimes some chances only given that once in a lifetime opportunity once you get to know that person. But more on that to take later about chances. Right, living in my life, however, or my world around me, when there's a lot of noises around me, can really, really overwhelm me. Be it like a lot of people, be it a lot of traffic and the like. Yet, however, I tried to focus, however, more onto the task given at hand. However, like example, back in the past, I tried to, focus on a lab experiment, regardless of a lot of noise and chatter and all that, trying to block all that out. 9 times out of 10, sometimes, however, I do zone out in a given situation if it was a lab class that I go into, and pretty much many people think that, I'm not listening or paying attention because, my eyes may be not on the board or focusing on that particular person at hand, here say the lecturer that's given us that time of day to teach us that experiment, whatever it may be. Yeah, as I said before, my energy is solely, fully absorbed on that given task at hand, be it if it means that I get tired and worn out afterwards. But then again, as I know that many Aspies like me pretty much wants to do things well once they're given that task and topic at hand. However, some noises may tend to get me in an overdrive, despite that this little brain feature here pretty much is 90 miles a minute working on what to say or do or think. And then it comes to a point that it may make me get a bit forgetful, or I may tend to speak fast, as many people have noticed when they've approached me. I may speak fast, but I'm trying to learn now to slow down, have micro pauses in between every situation, give and take. So, either that or another one is pretty much I write things down before I forget. Sometimes, as I said before, my mind engages before the mouth, or vice versa. Sometimes it comes out wrong, but then hopefully, if you guys are patient enough, however, as I said in one of my videos, if you want me to re-elevate what I was saying, please kindly ask me to do so, and then hopefully I can try and recall what I say, or you guys can partly recall it for me, and then I'll try and, recorrect what I said. Okay, another one is, however, I do struggle in large groups or sort of thing, in crowds, be it, like I said before, social anxiety and that, but high praises for me at the moment that I actually have been basically out and about trying to socialise and branch out more in those groups. Pretty much like an example was pretty much when I was out yesterday, pretty much doing the protest march, or whatever we want to call it, of when John Key came to Palmerston North in the square. Pretty much high praises for me to be out there and stuff. I don't know if anyone else out there that may be following me that may agree, but I am coming out of my shell more and more now, to a point where we need to be heard and listened to, and hopefully that within this given right of speaking our mind, however, we can actually be met across somehow with either, the authorities or what have you, despite that, you know, we still are entitled to freedom of speech. But we need to be aware and be in mind, though, however, that when I do socialise in large groups, I do get a bit, you know, overwhelmed, or pretty much social anxiety and my attacks sometimes take on board, and that I need to withdraw myself in that even given moment, even though many people think I'm rude or whatnot when I accidentally try to excuse myself, even though sometimes I feel I shouldn't be explaining myself unless you guys know how to work with me and actually make things work for you and I. Many people, however, may assume that autistics and SBs feels less likely that we're, or nothing at all, that we're not human at all. Be it, for example, our meaning here is that we don't feel the same way as you do, you know, in the emotional scale, or some sort of scale of degree of how we feel in general, physical, you know, spiritually, mentally, alike. Correction, we are all humans, however, no matter what and who we are. So we, again, as I said, we need to accept each other. Sometimes, however, I believe that with us SBs, we do fixate on the one given task or opportunity. You know, sometimes we do tend to forget to look after ourselves, be it whatever it is. So pretty much, as I said before, you know, just we need to look after ourselves, but more on the take, as I said in part 2, how to manage this. Anyway, however, the last part before I get into these sensitivities, hypersensitive to the senses, I should say, pretty much we need to know what triggers we have, because most of these triggers we have isn't always the same as knowing what it feels like. Many people who's not on that spectrum, however, calls this a sensory trigger of a phobia of some kind. Yet these people that has come about with this term, as I mentioned, the sensory trigger, they could be bang onto something, but as I said before, there needs to be more research and understanding on these bits and pieces of what's going on. Right, here goes to the hypersensitivity to these senses. Number 1, however, I've labelled as sensitivity to sounds. Yes, some of these sounds, or whatever it may be, high-pitched sirens, traffic noises, if I'm in a busy traffic as I'm walking down the road when it's really, really busy, you know, be it like, you know, on roadworks and that can really, you know, cause me distress or overwhelmed, or pretty much, you know, having one of the panic attacks. Usually, how I go about this though, however, with this, okay, even though this should be on the second part, but I'll say it now, I have a tape deck, or shall we say my iPod dock that has full surround sounds, pretty much, of, you know, calm, peaceful sounds, and I have it down to a level where hopefully when I'm having those moments of anxiety attacks that it's low, and then I'll pick up the volume, you know, so I can get used to them again. As I said before, yes, my brain is wired differently to any normal neurotypical people or entities, even though, yes, I hate using the term. As my mind goes to overdrive, yes, many people will know that. So I write everything down before I forget in a journal form, or just in general, you know. Sometimes, as I said, this is to before I forget what I want to say and stuff later on, maybe. Okay, number 2, sensitivity to smells. Yes, be it when I'm around the house, thank you people, the ones I'm living with at the moment, or be it when I'm in certain stalls in certain chemists or pharmacies, or some retail shops, be it farmers. I've noticed in the past when I've been walking there, it does tend to get my sensory overdrive real big time. It makes me to the point nauseous, dizzy, and the like. But however, bear in mind, I am not saying that hygiene is important. Yes, personal hygiene is important to a degree that we need to look after our appearance, be it whatever it may be. You know, even though we should take pride of what we look and smell and whatever. Even though pride can be a really meaning and deceitful term. Anyway, another one is sensitive to touch, is the last one I'm hopefully going to or shall we say, there's two more sensitive tastes, I should say. Sorry. Sometimes there are some tastes I can't bear in mind anymore. I used to enjoy eating sour and real hot spicy foods, pretty much. But now, since it's really sensitive, I've noticed that maybe it's because after losing a bit more weight, saying, even though yes I shouldn't be, even though many people like my family members and that are worrying about me, about my weight, and maybe some of my friends who has met me, I don't know, I could be wrong, that I am getting skinny. But however, with this acids and spiciness to certain foods, and I mean real hot, kick-ass spicy, okay, to the people that loves it, that burns my tongue and makes my taste buds come to life with a fizzing sensation, regardless if it means that I'm lacking in something on my diet as well. Regardless, yes, I know I'm trying to focus on my dietary needs and requirements. That is important also. Anyway, and the last and not least is sensitive to touch. This means I wear clothes that does feel good against my skin, but sometimes with some of the clothes that I do suit fashion style sense, or even though I love fashion, some may cause me to itch and have a burning sensation like ants crawling on my arms and legs, which is kind of bizarre. It could be the type of material that's rubbing against me, hence that's why I need to probably, for a solution for me, is maybe wear a different form of clothing underneath that, be it what I'm wearing today, pretty much to make sure that it doesn't occur. However, and then, okay, don't get me wrong, many aspects I've come and met don't like being hugged. I, on the other hand, am the totally complete opposite. I love hugs. Hugs to me gives me a sense of warmth, security, protection, and the like. Also, with hugs, however, I've learned that pretty much it releases certain chemicals in our bodies, like endorphins and everything else. You know, don't get me wrong, hugs are good, but bear in mind there is the OTT, or shall we say the over-the-top type hugging that many people may not like, of the smothering and the likes. But then, hey, I'm one of them that doesn't like being smothered much, but I like hugs. But you know, there will be a point where I might have to let you guys know that you're smothering me and the like. But more on that take, hopefully, as I said, in my next video. Over. Well, this is what ends the series 6 or 7 of basically the sensory overload. Hopefully these messages, or shall we say some of these points that I'm bringing across about me, or just maybe other people that you may come across with the aspects or not, pretty much will come in handy for you, pretty much. So enjoy your day, and I'll see you all guys soon.